And once again, we are back on the, are we still calling it the OG, or are we back to real boxing talk? I forgot what it is now.
You're OG.
You still is it OG until I shave? Okay. I guess
it's and after.
Old and gray. There we go. Real boxing talk. We're talking real boxing. We've been talking for about an hour and a half before we even started the show. So if one of us goes, mute or whatever, we apologize, but the other two will keep us going. So, and it'll probably be me. Anyhow, welcome, gentlemen.
Hello.
We have a couple of things that have happened in the last weekend or two. But the interesting thing is we're talking about a weight class that in previous years we haven't really gotten into. So we're going to talk some lightweights, 135. And interesting things happening this weekend, interesting things that have happened in the last couple of weekends. So let's go with the last thing that we saw, which was, John, take us away.
Well, we saw Devin Haney and Jojo Diaz, right? It's a fight we talked about, and it was a good fight. It was entertaining. It went, we're not doing any patting on the back here. It went like most of us thought that it would. It had Haney with the speed and the boxing, and Diaz with the grit, and keep coming and trying his hardest. And Haney's a very talented kid. I don't know. He's another one that doesn't seem to get as much respect as he deserves. Now, before it was he had a bad chin because he got buzzed once. See, the thing is, it seems like sports is an extreme. You get buzzed once, suddenly you don't have a chin. So he handled and Diaz isn't a big puncher, so I wasn't really concerned about that. Now he's feather fisted. Now he can't knock anybody out, and maybe he can't. But he can. It's in the middle somewhere. But anybody that watched him display his art, and that's what I'll call it, his hands and his feet and his just God-given ability, whatever it is, he's a talented 23-year-old who's only going to get better. So I enjoyed it. I was and went as expected. But Haney's the real deal. He's in that lightweight category that you're talking about, Frank, and Kambosos was there, and Kambosos said, let's go to Australia in front of 80,000 and fight, and Haney said, okay. So, I love that. Yeah, I love it. Now, whether it happens or not with all the other people involved in the whole thing is hard to say, but they certainly want it to happen. But yeah, I get your point here about the lightweights, with all the talent, and then of course we're going to talk about what's happening this week in the lightweights. It's the star. It's taken over, I think, as the top division now, even over the welterweights. We just really talked about 2 or 3 guys tops with the welterweights, and then the junior welterweights we got Josh Taylor and Ramirez, and then Rougarou, like I said. So the lightweights we got Garcia, we got Haney, we got Diafimo, who probably go up to 140, but he might stay down at 134. We got George Kambosos, who's got all the titles except one, Haney, and then that other guy that we were talking about, Mr. Giovante Davis. So we got a lot of the talent pool is big. Let's leave it at that.
Well, let's jump into the pool. Ooh, nice segue, Charles. And I know I don't like the pool, but anyhow, I'm a deck kind of guy. But anyhow. Now, we have this definitive fight. Was the fight the weekend before, Kambosos, was that a definitive fight? Have we seen these are the 2 best guys? Or have we seen something that now it opens up the pool for everybody else after this weekend, or last weekend, I'm sorry?
Wow. I don't think it's, I don't want to say that I think it's definitive. I don't. I think it opens the door because, if you raise your hand and tell me that you thought Kambosos was going to beat Teofimo Lopez, I'm going to call you a liar. I'm going to call you a straight liar to your face, because clearly a lot of people thought Teofimo Lopez was going to use this as a stepping stone to move on and move forward. When he got upset, people were like, wow, okay. But to open the door, because now you have a guy like Devin Haney, who did beat Jojo Diaz, going like, maybe, and I can't speak for him, this is just my view, okay? My view. I can't speak for, he never said this. But if I'm looking at Kambosos, I'm like, well, he kind of beat, Lopez kind of easily, in my opinion. He's looking, that seems kind of simple. And basically for Haney, it's like, you eliminated a problem that I thought I was gonna have. And I don't know if I really wanted to mess with that problem, but now you eliminate.
You're the problem, right?
I think I can get you though. Maybe Lopez might have been a little bit more tougher, but maybe you just had a great night. And I think that's what it was. So of course he jumps in it because you think about it from the standpoint of, and John said earlier that Kambosos now has all these belts. And Devin Haney's like, well, hell, just like that. You want to fight me? Oh, I think I can beat you. And now without having to fight Teofimo Lopez, I go straight to the belts. Straight to the belts. And I could be undisputed, what have you, 4 times, 4 belts. And I think he's like, this is a dream come true. So a guy like Haney, you look at that too. But with all of the stuff that's going on, I think that's why I think it's wide open. Because Kambosos being a new player, Teofimo Lopez, if he moves up, that's totally different. But if he stays at 135, and Lomachenko wants to get back in there too with his fight coming up. So that's why I said I don't think it's defined. I think it's more open. And you just never know because there's a lot of different things. And now we're going to talk about Tank Davis, just wide open. It's like pick your poison.
Well, and the poison isn't just 1 or 2. This is the fun part of this. You've got people calling out other people all over the place. There's a young man named Ryan Garcia who's making a lot of noise, figuratively and literally. John, how does Ryan Garcia play into this?
Well, it's kind of funny if you saw him smiling because I brought him up with Gervonta Davis, and he called him a girl. He said, he's always just doing his talking. He says all he does is talk. And the way he did it was hilarious. You have to see it to see what I'm talking about. Floyd Mayweather was sitting right next to him. He smiled. So, but Ryan can fight. But he just hasn't fought lately. What have you done for me lately? We know all that stuff. And he stopped Luke Campbell in his last fight. He got knocked down. He got up. He stopped Luke Campbell, who Lomachenko couldn't stop. He did stop later. But Lomachenko got buzzed by Luke Campbell. He was a good fighter. So Ryan is, I think, because he's in Canelo. He's Canelo's friend, and he works with Eddie Reynoso and all that stuff. But Canelo said something interesting, I think about 3 or 4 weeks ago. He pretty much implied that Ryan Garcia isn't dedicated enough. And that was a shot across the bow. That was what you would say to a friend. I mean, I appreciate it. If I was Ryan Garcia, I would have went, thank you. I think I need a kick in the butt. A lot of people were, ooh. I thought it was he's acting like an older brother, like a brother would say, come on, man, you got to get serious here. So Ryan is really good on social media. Obviously got 1 trillion subscribers like you, Frank. He's got all these people that follow him and everything. Yeah. So he's real good at that, but he's got to get in the ring. He's got to fight somebody. He was going to fight Tank, and that's what they talked about. Floyd Mayweather said, look, we wanted to fight him, but he wanted to fight Manny Pacquiao in an exhibition. You guys remember when that came up. Mm-hmm. And so that was unfortunate. It would have been great to see Ryan Garcia and Tank fight. And then, of course, Garcia and Haney fought, I think, 5 times as amateurs and 6 times, and they split him. So he's good. There's no doubt about it. He's good, but there's more stuff going on with him. He's got some issues. So until he is officially in a fight that we know is coming up, then we can't really put him. We put him in the mix, but he's more on the side a little bit because we're not sure. But Kambosos, the interesting thing about that guy is he wants to fight all the top guys, and he wants entertaining fights. He wants fights for the fans. And I like that. And a little side note about Teofimo Lopez, I read an excellent article. I don't care if it's on another website. I mean, it was excellent on Boxing Scene. There's a lot of things going on with Teofimo that we didn't know about, that I didn't know about. This guy found out. He didn't say anything before the fight, but I guess Teofimo not only was having weight issues, but he had, he just got married and his wife just had a baby, but his wife left him. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm not playing a therapist here, but I'm saying if I was him and my wife had my child and left me, I think that would be effing with my brain a little bit. I think I would have a little hard time totally focusing on the task at hand. So that made a little more. Remember, we were last week and we were saying, why didn't we see the signs that this would happen? And he said, remember, there were some, but we didn't know that Kambosos was as good as he is. So we learned a lot. But I'm not giving Teofimo any excuses. I'm just saying that there was a lot going on in that young guy's life, and I hope he gets it together because that's got to be hell for him. And who knows how this affects him going forward. You know, sometimes these guys, they don't recover from this kind of, they never hit that level again, you know. He needs to make a clean start of it, but that's that. But Evan Haney, back to him in that division is great stuff, Frank. So I'm excited. 2022, if we get the fights that they're talking about, if Garcia comes back and Kambosos fights Haney possibly, and Tank is saying, okay, I know where all the talent is. I want a piece of this. Mm-hmm. These are some damn good fights. This is like almost like a tiny bit like when Hearns and Leonard and Duran and all this, you know, he had all that talent and they were talking about fighting each other. So they're not obviously in that category. And I want somebody to go, what are you saying? I'm saying that they all have talent and it's exciting to have all four of them talking about fighting each other. And then just a few pounds above them is Josh Taylor. And so that area, that within that 5 to 7 pound radius, there's a lot of excellent fighters.
Okay, Charles. So we have, and we just mentioned in 10 minutes, at 135, Devin Haney,
right,
Ryan Garcia, and I'm going to forget what I just said, Tank Davis, and Teofimo Lopez. Let's not get into the title yet. Let's just get into those four: Haney, Lopez, Davis, and Garcia. These aren't even the guys that hold the belts, and we've been talking about them. What about those four, or one of them, or whatever, however you want to put it, are the ones that you go, wow, this is a stacked division, and we haven't got to the belt holders yet.
So you said Haney, Lopez,
Garcia, and Tank Davis.
Yep. Well, I mean, I think is the factor that you look about the potential of Devin Haney, right? I've been waiting on Devin Haney to step up, fought a guy that was more than respectable in JoJo Diaz, and he handled it. So now it's like, okay, what's next? So you're excited about that. When you look at Lopez, right? Lopez beat the monster. He beat the big bad bully. He beat the legend in Lomachenko, and he beat him whatever was going on. And he beat him, and then he loses, and it's like, well, you're great, but you beat the legend, but you're vulnerable now. Whatever was going on, you still lost, and I think that's what a lot of people are looking at too. And then when you look at Garcia, it's always like really weird because we look at these guys, except maybe for Tank Davis, but all these guys have had some kind of something going on. You look at Garcia, you know, you might be mental issues now, and whatever it is, he's having some issues. He's been out of the ring. Tank Davis has had his issues outside the ring too. So
yes,
everybody is like, you know, you like, oh, is he gonna be okay this week? You know, Devin Haney, he might be the one that you say, okay, he's cool, but that you go, well, is he finally saying he really wants to fight somebody? Because for as much as he said he wants to fight some of these guys, he's running for Kambosos, running towards him.
Right.
And he's sprinting to him because I think he believes that that's easy work for him. And I don't think he would say that against versus Lopez. He probably's like, I don't know if I'm running like that. But this Kambosos dude, I think I can get him easily. And he wants the belt. So the more he gets the belts, he's the king. He's sitting on top of it. But with all these guys, I think the potential for greatness in all of these fighters is what makes you want to go. Just you can imagine up 2x2 or whatever. Great. Granted, we'll go that way. And I think it shows you too when Tank Davis says, okay, yeah, I kind of got that 140 belt, but nah, I'm going to stay at 135. And I'm going to get a piece of his action, like John mentioned earlier. I'm gonna get a piece of action because this is where it is, and I want to be right in the middle of it. And I think I can do well here. So there's a lot there, a lot going on. We haven't even talked about throwing Lomachenko in the mix as well, and just saying, here we go. So I think all of those guys make you want to go, these are potential great super fights. And, you know, we're not even gonna throw the other wild card there. I'm gonna leave that alone for later. But all of these are potential great fights for 2022, and one guy loses, come back up, come back down, another opportunity. But this can lead to some great fights, however you want to do it. Ryan Garcia has to prove himself that he's really worthy to come back. You know, we know about the skill set, but you've been off for a while, and now we're seeing people are off. You're like, well, when you off or something is wrong, yeah, there's a propensity for you to lose now.
Right.
I mean, you look at that now. We look at with Lopez losing, and you're like, well, Tank Davis, you hurt your hand. You really didn't look great. You broke your hand. You know, Devin Haney, yeah, you fought, but JoJo Diaz was like, still here, bro. So yeah. So with all that being said, I think it comes down to where, without having dominance by really anybody so far, really lately, it just kind of makes you go, all right, since nobody was great, we need to find out who the one or two best fighters are going to be in this division.
I'm going to throw a little something else in the mix, and this is going to be a little bit of a curveball, but you already mentioned it. All right, John. Now, we're looking at, we mentioned 130, all right? We mentioned, there are a couple of guys there. Let's just think of something here real quick. We all talk about Shakur Stevenson, and we all assume that he wants to move up at some point. Yeah, whether that's next week or not, we don't know. But let's throw a couple other monkey wrenches into this, okay? A couple of guys we've talked about. We know Miguel Berchelt. Did he have problems making weight a few times?
Hey, you know, he was there too. He was at the fight, so.
Yeah, so, okay. Valdez looked great at 130, but is he in a mood to move up? And there's always the, what do we see next from Leo Santa Cruz? Is that something that we might see something from? Well, is Leo Santa Cruz ready to jump because we know he's moved up, he's moved down, he's moved up, he's moved down. If you throw him into a fight with somebody, is that something he wants to do? Jamel Herring. There are so many possibilities, and we're not even going to get into what's happening this weekend just yet. What else is there that could shake things up? Again, we're talking about maybe 8-10 guys that we really like at this weight. Who else is there from 130 that might move up, or from 140 that might move down?
Oh, I'd love to see Gary Russell Jr. do something. He's right there too. He said something. I think it was Lopez. He said, "Oh, geez, I'd whoop him easy." I think he said, and I thought you probably would have because you're so fast. But you're right. I mean, it's not really a curveball. Within even further than that, I said that 7 pounds from 130 to 140, even from 126 to 140. There's a lot of talented fighters. You know, Shakur Stevenson, if somebody said, "Oh, you want to fight him?" He'd go, "Oh, yeah, just name it." He's like Haney. He's like, "I'll fight whoever you say." Those two guys fighting each other, you know, it's all about matchups. We know all that. They're both such good boxers that a lot of people would say, "Oh, that sounds like a boring fight." To you, it might be. To me, it would be great. It would be art. You know, it would be two super talented, fast, young guys, so confident in their abilities, boxing each other. It would be it would show you why they call boxing the sweet times. But Shakur he's going to move up, no doubt about it. He wants to get in that pool. Those guys, you know that. So he's a natural. I don't see Oscar Valdez yet doing that. I think he likes being at 130. But Rochelle, yeah, he's another one that could certainly get in. So then you widen it, add more in that pool, and nobody's drowning, but it's starting to fill up a little bit, you know. So you got a lot of opportunities for a lot of fighters. So yeah, the talent base. So Charles made a good point. If you were to say who's the best out of all these guys, it would be hard because they all have different skills in a sense, and some do something better and others do other things better. It would be hard to pick one right now. If you were to say, is Kambosos better than Haney? I'd say no. That doesn't mean he couldn't beat him.
Right.
So that's what makes it intriguing too. And it's the bottom line is it's all good for the sport. You know, we like it when we've got opportunities for guys to fight each other and they're good. It's not some ridiculous payday where he knocks some guy out in 30 seconds. These are competitive fights. And we've seen that in the last few weeks. Very competitive fights. The Tank Davis fight, very competitive. The Pitbull came there to win, and he was doing his thing. Tank had to figure out another way to win, and he did it. But it was tough. That was a grueling 12-rounder, you know. So yeah, he's in there too. Pitbull's in there too somewhere. Not the top guys, but they're probably like, if I was him, I'm like, I don't know about that guy. He'd be on me the minute I come out of the locker room, you know. So there's that makes it. All it does. The point is all it does is it helps the sport.
Well, and Charles, now we're gonna throw it on you because you're the one that does this the best. And I can't believe I said that and actually paid you a compliment. But anyway, so this,
Professor Farmer down there.
This portion of the program will be edited. Sorry about that. But is this one of your patented Charles Farmer / Richard Schaefer tournaments coming up?
It would be, but the problem with that in this situation is, to me, I think these guys, their egos would get in the way.
Mm-hmm.
I know them back in the day, guys would jump in it, but with all of the promotions by, Haney Promotions, Lopez Promotions, guys, if I hear another damn promotion come, it's like all of y'all just literally copied off of Floyd. So
right.
I think it would be great for a tournament, to answer your question. I would love to see it, but I think because there's so much going on behind the scenes, everybody's trying to get that extra dollar and trying to recuperate major cash, that they would fight it. And I think then what you have to do then, since they're not going to let that tournament happen, is you have to have a Richard Schaefer or somebody else behind the scenes that goes, you know what? Or let's even do it better, which I thought was cool. They've done it once, they can do it again. You've seen some other way where the WBO said, you know what? That's your mandatory. Let's get it.
Right.
You these are mandatories. It's time for these boxing associations to go, boom. I mean, you look at WBC pushing out there, talking about Fury gonna fight White. That's what you want to do. Let's push some, WBO did that when they had Crawford versus Porter. It's time for these WBAs, WBCs, IBF, push some stuff towards the middle. Say, hey, here's your mandatory out of these guys, and let's get it going. I think it would be easier that way because there's the money involved and people think they're going to get paid. But the tournament's a great idea, but with the egos of the promoters and everybody and their stepmama trying to get paid, it'd just be hard to do. I mean, back when we had the Super Six with Andre Ward, it was perfect. It just made sense. You had an underdog come out of it and shine brightly, became probably one of the top fighters we know. But too many egos right now, which is, well, I want this. And we not, I want 60-40. I'm bigger name than you. I'm the A side. I'm with Floyd Mayweather. And you really the C side. So with all that being said, I think you would have to easier. I think now it should be up on the governing bodies to step up because they can get that done. Because these guys, two things real quick. They don't want to lose their belts, right? Unless it's in the ring. They don't want to lose their belts and they don't want to lose money. So as much as you can say what you want to, I get off this point very quickly, is Terrence Crawford was not looking for that Sean Porter fight. I said it from the beginning. The WBO did him a favor because he wanted Pacquiao. Pacquiao was gone, somebody beat him. Then you want Spence. You're not getting the Spence fight because of your allegiance to where you're at. You're not getting that fight. WBO did you a favor by saying, fight Sean Porter. You beat Sean Porter. Not only did you beat him, you were very convincing in the way that you beat him. Now that gives you more leverage as to what you did when you were not looking at that fight whatsoever because he was your friend. You didn't want to deal with it, but they did you a favor because now everybody talk about you in pound for pound right there. And they might say you might be at top of the pound for pound. So something you were not looking for, you got a gift from the WBO.
Now we're going to make that segue because you mentioned pound for pound. So we know how much stuff there is in this weight class or these 2 or 3 weight classes. All right, now let's look at this weekend. Let's look at the return of, or however you want to put it, of Richard Commey. Oh, I'm sorry. Now, the reason I led with Commey is this. Not too long ago, and pandemic and time witstanding, not too long ago, we were talking about Richard Commey as the king or maybe one of the best in this division, right? He had a belt, the Easter Junior fight. Okay, whatever you can say. Now, I was here in Las Vegas when that fight went off, and there were Richard Commey fans all over the place. There may not be a ton of them, but they were all over the place. Now we've got a chance for him to get back in the mix, maybe, if that's at all possible, by beating the man who got beaten by the man who's got beaten by Kambosos. But this is the interesting thing about this. Is Lomachenko the man still? if he beats Commey or if he looks good or whatever? And does the road run through him, or is it kind of a U-turn in the suburbs for Lomachenko? John, what happens if Lomachenko looks good and all these other guys are yapping about I did this and I did that, but you haven't gone down that road yet?
Well, since he lost to Lopez, he's not the man. I mean, it's as simple as that. He's fighting Commey, who Lopez blasted out in 2 rounds. I mean, they have something in common here. You know, they
Right.
both got beat by Lopez. Of course, Commey got blown out.
Right.
Commey is dangerous. I would hope that Loma is in great shape. He usually is. He better not get clipped because people better not sleep on Commey. He's got 27 KOs out of 30 wins.
Right.
The guy can punch. I actually thought that he was going to give Lopez a harder fight. See, so this is just proof that we're not always right, Frank. I figured.
You're not always
right. Okay, you're always right. That's right. I thought. Sorry about that, Frank.
Yeah. Don't lump Charles and I this.
That's right. You guys are.
Nah, that's you. Look, that's you. You wear that gown by yourself.
Yes, that's right. So, but I think he might be being a little overlooked by the fans a little bit. Commey, I'm talking about. He knows that this is in a lot of ways his last shot. He's 34 years old. Lomo's 33. So it's not a crossroads fight because Loma looked really good against Nakatani a number of months ago. He looked like his old self. So, yeah, and it's another fight that's kind of buzzing under. I say that every week, don't I? Flying under the radar, and then they end up getting a number of people at the arena. It is even at the Staples for Davis. They had like 14,000 people, so that's good. I mean, considering the BR is so limited and everything. But Lomachenko's fighting at Madison Square Garden, so that's that. Talking about a mecca, it was really big once. Now Vegas is pretty much taken over. But no, if he wins, and I think he will, unless he gets caught with one of those vicious hooks, which is very possible. The way it's been going, it's hard to be real confident on anything because Lopez loses. Tank was in trouble a little bit in his fight, where I was like, wow, this guy might, and he got chin checked. And he was okay. So that answered that question because I was wondering about that. So Loma should win against Commey, who you're right, Frank, was considered really one of the top guys. But Commey certainly is a determined dude. Now, he's a very classy fighter. He doesn't say anything nasty about anybody. And him and Teofimo Lopez are really good friends, which is really interesting. Teofimo will probably be there. But I think he wins. He can say that he's there. And he's going to say, he's already talking about wanting to fight Kambosos. Right. So, of course, everybody wants to fight Kambosos.
Well, exactly. That's why I haven't brought him up yet. Right. Yeah,
everybody wants to fight him. But he said, I'm not looking forward, even though, because he was asked the question. He's got to get past Commey first. Because I think Lomo's lost a little bit. I think he's lost a half step. So he might be a little more vulnerable than he would have been, say, 3 years ago. But his technique and everything should be enough and his speed should be enough for him to beat Commey. But as I said, don't go to sleep on old Richard Richard Commey there. Don't do that. He's a dangerous dude. And if you start thinking you got it in the bag, he can catch you and you go night. So almost not. He's a human being, as they remember with me with Rocky. He's only a man. Be more a man and beat him. So, he can be beat. He's lost twice. So it's again with me. See, I always look for these different kind of angles. And this fight, my headline is I called him dangerous, and I think he is. I think he's a dangerous guy, Richard Commey.
Well, and like you said, it's not that far removed from him being a title holder. And yes, he did get blasted out in 2 rounds. But again, that could have been, as we mentioned a couple other times, that could have been just that one-time thing. Who knows?
Right.
So, it's weird how it plays out. Now, Charles, I'm going to ask you this question. Is Kambosos, we're going to finally get into Kambosos. Is he the kid in the schoolyard who found a $100 bill and all the kids in the schoolyard waiting to take him on after school? Is he just the guy that got lucky? Like, I'm going to take his money because no one else, he can't keep it for himself. Or is he the real deal? You watched the fight. What did you think?
Going back to your example, I think he's the guy that walked in there and he saw the bully with $100, and the bully had a bad day.
Okay.
And he caught the bully at the right time, and he took the bully's $100. Never seen him before, maybe not been the guy you think about, but he's the guy with the $100 now. But because you beat the bully and you're like, oh, he beat the bully, bully had a bad day. Other people think he may not be as tough with the $100 like the bully was. And I'm talking bully, AKA Lopez, right? So he's the guy that I think that people see as he had a great day, but can you keep doing it? And I don't think that they saw that. Everybody, I think people were surprised. So the other possible opponents, the Devi Haney's, right? Lomachenko, if he's up there, whoever, anybody that's breathing, see they got an opportunity to win these 3 belts, they're running towards him because they think, to me, I think they think he's easier to beat. Now, you can never take away from what he did by upsetting Lopez and whatever Lopez was going through, granted, and if they fight again, Lopez might win. But you can never take away from what he did. And he did it, and now you got to give him his love and his time in the spotlight and whatnot. But to answer your question, I think he's just the guy that people think is ripe to beat because it's like he did something nobody was able to do. And when you keep hearing those names like that, it's not because they're giving him out of it. And unfortunately, just my opinion, I don't think they're doing it out of respect. When they're calling his name out, they're calling his name out to say, I watched that fight. He didn't really impress me like that. So I think I can get you. I think I can get you. Plus, I'm willing to take that risk because you got 3 belts. And then you can go off in the sunset. You can disappear. So I think that's what it is.
Well, to me, it's interesting because we have so many people lined up to take on everybody else, or should be lined up to take on everybody else. Again, we've got Loma Commey this weekend. We've got so many different things going on, but let's kind of break into what's happening the rest of the weekend. All right, we've got Nonito Donaire, we've got Casamayor, we've got Sonny Edwards, Bivol. All right, Bivol, the light heavyweights. John, let's jump into that one real quick, just to give an idea of where people aren't seeing the action of what's happening. We have light heavyweight championship belt fight. And if you aren't paying attention, you haven't heard diddly poo about it.
Yeah, Bivol's fighting a guy I believe has only had 7 fights, a Russian guy, and 5 KOs, and he's highly thought of and everything. But Bivol will likely beat him. I can't see. Dmitry Bivol was way up there, and now he's fallen. Even though he's champion, he's fallen quite a ways down because either his team hasn't done a good job of matching him or whatever. We don't know what's going on behind the scenes, but he isn't like, ooh, Dmitry Bivol's fighting this weekend. Where a few years ago, we were looking forward to watching him because he's got talent. So all he needs is to fight one of the top guys. And Joe Smith is fighting in January. He's defending his version of the title. The Donaire fight seems interesting to me, even though I haven't read too much about his opponent. I do know that the guy's like 24-0 with 22 knockouts, something like that. So you've got the classic old man Donaire, who's 38 or 39 now. The old grizzled veteran's got a beard like Frank's right there, you know, the old grizzled Donaire. And then you got the young, hungry hotshot. So if you think about it, if anybody, now this is going on his record more, so I will admit that I did not study this, so I'm just going to say. So if you think anybody could potentially be upset, it sounds like Donaire. Now, Casamayor, I think he wins that fight like he does, Mr. Super Aggressive. The Donaire fight intrigues me because, again, it's the old guy and the young guy, the grizzled veteran against the upstart. So all those cliches you love so much. But, yeah, very busy weekend. Then we got Conor Benn against Chris Algieri in England, and I'm going to be watching that because it starts really early, and I love that. And that's the young son of the Nigel Benn, who was really exciting, really good fighter back in the day. And Algieri is a boxer. You know, he had a little rough time against Manny Pacquiao. Got knocked down. What was it, Frank? Like 28 times or something like that?
24, 27.
24 times? Okay. Oh, well, I maybe slipped the other 4 times. But he can box, right? He can box. And Errol Spence just blew him out, if you remember. He just backed him into the ropes and just blew him out. That was when I went, man, this guy is heavy-handed, because no one had done that to Chris. But Algieri is, of course, you know me with my weakness for pythons. He's also a very He's also a very nice guy. Talked to him a number of times, so we'll see about that. But so we've got a lot of boxing. I mean, if you love boxing, this Saturday there's going to be. I don't know how you're going to end up watching it all, but yeah, most of the fights are flying under the radar, like we're always talking about, because boxing isn't thought of as that big. I don't think anymore. Not like the NFL. Everybody knows what games are coming up on Sunday, but boxing, it's all you got to find. You got to search on the internet to find the fights, the time, where it's going to show, how you're going to watch it. You know, it's a bit of a challenge nowadays.
Well, thank goodness Charles Farmer has done that. So we are going to go to the next portion of the show. No, seriously though, we've had some news that's I don't know if I call it breaking news. And I know I'm not a fan of breaking news, but some things that have happened that are, as we kind of say, under the radar, but not. We've got mandatories being announced. We've got this being announced. That. All right. So what's going on with the Fury Paul? No, I'm sorry. What's going on with Tyson Fury and the mandatory here? Charles, what do you see eventually comes out of this, or is it this is law, this is what's going to happen?
Well, I mean, I think you're trying to get a lot of stuff going on where they tried to get Joshua to kind of, step aside, right? Did Joshua step aside so Usyk could move forward and maybe go after Fury, right? But Joshua was like, you know what? Unless you're bringing me something that is an offer that I cannot refuse, leave me with that. Leave me with that, because I'm not trying to do that. Whatever it's come down that way. So because he wants Joshua wants the rematch with Usyk. He thinks he deserves it. He didn't like the way he lost. He doesn't feel comfortable, so he's going to take it. But Fury, on the other hand, instead of listening to the noise of a step back or stand back by Joshua, was like, the hell with it. So WBO is doing the right. I'm sorry, WBC is doing the right thing by saying, we tired of you waiting. If you want to fight, you're going to fight and not retire. Fight Dylan White.
Yep.
So yeah, he's going to be a mandatory, which I think makes a lot of sense, because the other way you have to go through all the red tape and whatnot. It's like, you want to fight somebody? Fight Dylan White. And I don't really love that fight, but I like it. And I like it.
Because it's a fight, yeah.
Yeah. I think it's showing you that too. And what I find ironic is, and you talked about pound for pound, I'm looking at some lists, and not to go off too much off the rail. One thing's blowing me away is I don't know how folks are really compiling these pound for pound lists. Because I'm sitting there looking at, like, Usyk beat Joshua, right? Usyk's like number 4 on some people's pound for pound list. And Deontay Wilder couldn't get a sniff of the pound for pound list. And now you're telling me Usyk is above Tyson Fury on the pound for pound list because he has 3 belts? Ain't no way in hell. He's a cruiserweight. He's 19-0. So when I look at this, I'm wondering I know some of these men have been in the ring, and they're probably a lot smarter than me to how I tell you how to engage in a strategy when you're facing somebody. But when we're talking about the looking at talent and how it goes, I'm blown away. I'm sitting there going like, there's no way you can tell me, and this is just my opinion, as you look at this, that you can have Usyk over Tyson Fury. I mean, he's a cruiserweight that beat a guy that lost twice to inferior talent, but he happened to have belts. How the hell can you do that when he went against one of the hardest punchers of all time, and he got it done? Somebody help me with this. You can write, call, get mad, scream, whatever you want to do. Explain this to me as to why the hell is this going on, because, or hit the like button, all of that. Tell me what the hell is going on, because we saw what Fury had to do in order to beat Wilder 3 times or whatever, how many times they battled. And then you're going to tell me because a cruiserweight comes up and takes three belts from a man that we still don't know too much about, Joshua. Some people might call him still unproven. And he goes above that man that went through hell in a handbasket. And you can legitimately write on a piece of paper and stake your claim to say, he's better than that guy. I must know. If that's the case, getting back to your point about Fury, I must not know any damn thing about boxing.
Well, so John, you've done this before. When you're compiling a pound for pound list, is what? Yeah, you're shaking your head like.
I hate pound for pound lists.
What are you saying? Okay, if all these guys were to fight at the same weight, then this guy would win, or is it I like this guy over that guy, or statistical, or he's got this percentage of this. I know it's a subjective list, but I also know it's got Mr. Farmer bent out of shape here a little bit because he's right. I couldn't figure out how you could say Terrence Crawford was one of the top 2 or 3 pound for pound, but he couldn't get a fight at welterweight. Well, if he's one of the best ones out there, then why can't he get a fight? Why can't you think he's worth if he's pound for pound one of the best out there, put him in the ring and beat him, or don't beat him. So what goes into it?
Well, it's obviously very convoluted, as you guys see. Taking what Charles was saying, Usyk and Fury. Now, yeah, I would not put Usyk above Fury at this point. But see, Charles Wilder, as we've said many times, has never really gotten the respect that we thought he deserved. Now, no one ever said he was a great fighter, but he was a champion for a number of years, made like 8 defenses, beat the guys they put in front of him. And he almost knocked out Fury in the first fight. People forget that. He should have knocked. I still don't know how Fury got it. Second fight, he got destroyed. Third fight, he almost won again. So that tells you that it's not like he's 5 miles from Tyson Fury as far as talent goes. He's there, but it's like there's that little difference. Fury's going to win. So Usyk, see, the thing about Usyk, I'll tell you, Usyk is the road warrior. This is why he gets so much respect, and this is why I like him. He goes to anywhere, to anybody's backyard, and beats them. He's done that his whole career. Yeah, and he did that as a cruiserweight, and he beat some good fighters as a cruiserweight. Here he goes to Joshua's backyard, and he's a huge underdog. So we know not 13-1 like Kambosos, but about 9-1, I think. Mm-hmm. And he beats him clean. So he deserves that. He moved up in weight, and he's got a lot of skills. He deserved it. Does he deserve to be above Fury? No. So it's sometimes it's based on, like I said, who the guy fought. And you're right, Charles. Joshua, we know that Joshua has flaws. We've been talking about it for years. Wilder has flaws. But if you're going to downgrade Wilder, then you must downgrade Joshua, right? If you're going to be fair about it, see, these lists are not fair. They are subjective. They are emotional. They are, what have you done for me lately? Like I said a little while ago. So you take that. You don't really think about it, I think, the way you should. You just, okay, well, he won, then he needs to go up on the list. Yeah, but you're putting him in front of a guy who just fought somebody 3 times. Mm-hmm. Like, that's why I think most pound for pound lists are a joke. I don't even look at them anymore because I don't think I think that it's like eeny, meeny, miny, mo, and that's not the way a pound for pound should be. It should be, you should really put a lot of thought into it. So, yeah, I mean, that's why I rolled my eyes, Frank, because when I was involved, was involved in California, and I would spend a long time thinking about it. I wouldn't just say, well, he's here, and obviously Andre Ward was always the top guy. That was easy. But then go 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm not going to just go by the guy I like or by I got to look at who he beat. How good was the guy that he beat? I got to think about all those things. I'm not just going to go, randomly put him. And I think we get caught up in that. And Terrence Crawford, you're why he couldn't get the fight because whatever his promoter, that guy, it's his birthday, I guess.
Happy birthday to you.
Yeah, that guy, maybe his own fault. Maybe he did a little bit. I'm not going to always blame him because I think that's why you have a promoter. That's why he's getting a piece of your money is to get you in the fights, Bob. So I'm not going to blame Terrence Crawford on that. I think I think he pretty much did what most fighters do. He trusted his promoter to get him the Errol Spence fight, and it never happened. So he's up there because of what we see every time he fights. That's why. We didn't see him fight anybody that we thought was great, but when he fought Sean Porter, that was huge, as we were talking about. We were saying, why didn't you fight Sean Porter? Well, he did it, and as Charles so aptly said, it's because it was ordered.
Right.
He ordered it. He did it. He won. He was impressive. Okay, he's rewarded. But it has not been an easy ride here for Terrence. He's one of the biggest mysteries, and he hasn't signed with anybody. Which I thought Eddie Hearn was going to swoop in there and sign him right away, but Terrence has probably gone, no, you make me an offer, and I'm going to think about it, which is smart. I'm not going to just jump at what you say. But yeah, the pound for pound list, I can't stop grimacing, or I just, they're basically, in my view, garbage. They are, because it's like a PR thing. It's, ooh, he's the top.
Yeah, right. Future Hall of Famer, this, yeah.
So it's dumb. Now, if you go all time and you talk about Sugar Ray Robinson will always be the greatest fighter in history to me, with Muhammad second. Okay, you can break that down a little bit better. But right now, you look at a whole career when you're going the all-time great. Now, if it's what did you do, and you won your. No. So yeah, it's ridiculous.
Okay, for you old school people, this segment has been brought to you by Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis. But anyhow, all right. The concept of how we put these things together, and somehow my screen is just, I'm on his head now. The concept of put these things together.
You're shrinking, Frank.
I'm getting shorter as I get older too.
Incredible shrinking OG.
OG shorter. Okay, but the idea of how we put these things together, and the fights that are coming up, and we can go over that. We'll do that next week. But we looked at the lightweight division, and a few pounds above, a few pounds, like you said, from 130 to 140, it's stacked. This is where I see that we're going to find a lot of value from this. And this is a lot of things to go into this, whether it be promotion, whether it be performances, whether it be what we want as fight fans, whether it be sports betting. There are so many things that are happening there that if the general public embraces what we're seeing right now, this could be a stupendous moment in time that we haven't seen in quite a while. We mentioned we had the Hagler, Hearns, Leonard, Duran time frame. That was cool. But were they ever really in the same place at the same time all together? One might have been a welterweight, one might have been here, one might have been there, and they were jumping around. One was retired, one wasn't retired. There's so much going on. These are all now active fighters, and in the span of an hour, we named about 12 guys that are active and ready to go after each other. Now, and I know we mentioned that man's birthday, and if these people get out of the way of what they usually don't get out of the way of, as Charles mentioned, it's the greed factor or the money factor, however you want to put it. If they can just see fit to say, we might be in a golden age of boxing, let's put out some quality product. So Charles, is that possible, or am I just being, too happy and too Pollyanna and going, dang, Howard?
No, I think it's definitely possible. And I think some of the fighters, if they really want to be great, then they will say, I want this fight. So when you go to that, or again, the governing bodies going, you know what, y'all just messing around. Let's go ahead and order some of these fights. Because when you order these fights, it forces people to make a decision. Again, you either give up the belt, move on, let somebody else do it, or you take the fight. And if it makes sense, it makes dollars and it makes sense, then you should get in there and make the fight. So again, like you said with Terrence Crawford, he wasn't looking for that fight. They made every excuse known to man, but it ended up being one of the best things that ever happened to him. So the same way too with the other guys at 135, you just got to have them in. Okay, Devin Haney, if you do get the Kambosos fight, great. Okay, Lomachenko, you win this weekend. What about a fight? Do you want to you don't want to revisit Lopez because he already just lost? Then you want a Garcia, or you want somebody. You don't want Tank Davis. We know that. You don't want that smoke. But then again, there's a Shakur Stevenson sitting there going like, I'll fight Lomachenko. And then, as you mentioned earlier, Gary Russell Jr. said he's fighting again in January. So he's showing up in January against, Mike Masaya? The guy got buzzed, but he's undefeated. So there's some players coming them out the roots, but I think that it can happen. So I do think it's possible. But the fighters now in 2022, you're seeing more people fighting. So it's like, you better get in where you fit in, because if you don't take these fights, the other guys are going to, and you're going to miss out. And I think that's what's happening right now. But like, oh yeah, I want to fight Kambosos. I want to fight him. So if you don't, you can see yourself on the outside looking in, and it could be more than a year and a half before you fight. And for a lot of those guys, it's going to be missed opportunity, particularly when Tank Davis says, I'm staying at 135. And it's like, well, hell, that's a slot that one of those guys at 135 is going to get booted. We don't need a substitute. We need a real fighter. So Tank just took another slot. So the question is, who's going to step forward and get in the mix? Hurry up and do it, because you don't. Because the question is, last question that I leave this, as you mentioned about that is, I wonder, as all said and done, who does Kambosos choose to fight? Because it's on him. Who does he pick out of all of the select pool of fighters that are coming for him? Who does he select?
Yeah, does he get to make that decision? There's the other option that I don't. And okay, John, run with that idea. And that's a good point, Charles. Who does he pick? But does someone? Well, anyway, John, figure that part out for us.
Well, he's the man, so he should be calling the shots, and it appears like he is to me. His dad is there, but his dad isn't like Teofimo Sr. His dad is way in the background.
Right.
And Kambosos, I mean, he's doing his United States tour here. He's going to all the fights and being announced. He went to a basketball game. I mean, he's doing his goodwill tour here, and it's coming across very well. The guy has been very impressive. I think I mentioned last week that an Aussie friend of mine said that he's hard to talk to because he could be surly and all kinds of stuff, but you don't get that when you see him. He's very polite and everything. And if he's playing the game like a politician, he's playing it smart because he's making friends in the States, and wherever he fights next, if it's Australia, see, he should fight in Australia. He's earned it. That's the way I see it. So whoever wants to come to Australia to fight him, and Haney's already said that he's good to go. And I doubt that. I have a feeling that with Kambosos, when he says, okay, I'm going to fight you, he means it. Now, the only thing possibly could happen is, and I doubt this, is he's still recovering. You know, he got beat up pretty good by Teofimo too. That he might do some kind of an easier fight at first in Australia. That happens. I don't know if they'll do a two for two on that, where it might be one and done. So I wouldn't be surprised if it's Haney, but then again, I wouldn't be surprised if he changes his mind. I don't think he wants to fight Tank. I think Tank is the guy that most people don't want to fight, to be honest, because he hits too damn hard, you know, and he's scary. So your first defense, I think because Campos has used that classic line that Max Schmeling used to Joe Louis. I saw something. So he saw something with Devin Haney. He probably saw this, but he saw something that he thinks he can exploit. Then that will be the fight that he wants, because it would be a good fight. Hell, in Australia, it'd probably be outdoors. I mean, we know, but can Haney? This is the next question. Can Haney get a fair judging? We know what happened to Pacquiao when he went to Australia. I mean, can he get some people that with all those Aussies screaming? 79,000, what? 995 will be screaming for Kambosos. So it's risky, but I kind of get the feeling Haney's ready to roll with it. So I think it's probably Haney. You know how boxing is. In a month, it'll change and it'll be someone else. It shouldn't be Garcia because he hasn't earned it. See, I think Haney is the other champion. See, he's got that smaller belt that's kind of an iffy belt. So if you want all the belts, that's the fight. Does it happen? I would say probably, but with boxing, what we want to happen a lot of times does not. It's going to happen with these guys. And real fast, Frank, when you mentioned all those guys, Hagler and Hearns and Leonard, Duran, they all did eventually fight each other. So I'm hoping that this is what happens with these guys, and not just the big four we mentioned. I hope that Shakur moves up and fights Tank. I mean, I would love to see that. I'm like a bull in the matador, you know. So there's just this endless possibility. If I was a promoter right now, I would just be salivating. I would be like, oh man, we got some fights here. If I'm serious and I really want to make them, they're there. Let's get it done. You know.
Well, we say this often, but I think it's true. We have found a spot because we talked about welterweights like last year, like this is the age of the welterweight. And we knew that at some point it would get winnowed down because we would have Spence, Crawford, or something, if they're not going to fight each other, they're going to eliminate the rest of the people, And we kind of thought that with Canelo, well, if he's not going to, then we're going to get rid of one of the Charles, we're going to get rid of this one, and that hasn't happened. So we still have that up in the air. But in this situation, we'll close it at this. There's nowhere you can go. If you're Haney or Santa Cruz or somebody, you can't go take a light touch. I mean, you can, but that's really saying you're running from those situations. Because any fight that you make right now, or any fight that you should make right now, should be against somebody that can fight. That's what I think is fun. Because we mentioned, like I said, 12 guys. It's going to be hard for you to prove your worth and just pick up somebody who's ranked 125th. Well, why'd you fight him? Why'd you fight him? Why'd you fight? You've got 4 or 5 guys that you can say, well, you didn't make the fight with him, like we said with Crawford. Well, you can make it with that guy. Make it that guy. You can make it that way. Make it that. There's going to be somebody you can make a fight with. So as Charles mentioned, 2022 should be a great season for these kind of fights, I hope. So I think we'll leave it at that because I think we've mined that pretty much then, and I don't hear another Janet Jackson song in my head. So we will go from there. Gentlemen, thank you once again. And yeah, I know. My mind is just weird. So Real Boxing Talk has talked itself out. Thank you.